Hey everyone, and welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get ahead of the curve today and really dive into some of the big tech trends that are probably going to be shaping pretty much everything by 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, we're talking the future.
You know, all of you listeners, you're super plugged in. You shared a ton of articles from Exploding Topics, Forbes, Gartner. I even saw some Computer City in there.
Nice.
And the message is pretty clear. AI is about to get even smarter. Robots are ready to really step it up. And honestly, things are about to get like really personal.
Yeah, no, that's right. It feels like the future's kind of knocking on our door right now, and it's brought some pretty cool gadgets.
So, okay, let's dive into all this. Let's start with the tech that's already kind of changing the game. Artificial intelligence. I feel like AI is already everywhere you look, but these
hmm
sources we've been checking out, they're saying things are going to go into overdrive.
Well, yeah, and it's really amazing how fast AI went from just kind of a buzzword to like a core business function. I mean, think
Yeah.
about it. We're seeing huge adoption rates. Like 50% of organizations are already using AI in at least one area, and that's 2.5 times higher than just a few years ago.
Whoa, that's a big jump. So I feel like all of a sudden everyone's talking about these AI chatbots like ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. OpenAI, that's the company behind ChatGPT. They're valued at like what, $80 billion. It's crazy. What's driving all this hype?
Well, these models, they're really grabbing everyone's attention because they could totally revolutionize how businesses operate. It's not just about like automating customer service with chatbots anymore. ChatGPT like came out of nowhere and suddenly everyone's like, whoa, AI can do way more. We're talking writing code, making marketing materials. It can even help therapists.
No kidding. That whole AI helping therapists thing, that's really interesting. I remember one of the articles mentioned Elios Health. What exactly are they doing in that space?
So they've got this platform, right? And it can actually listen in on therapy sessions, transcribe everything that's said, and then get this, it can even give the therapists suggestions for like potential interventions. It's pretty wild.
Wow. So basically, AI is about to change every industry out there. What other areas are we going to see a big AI impact?
Honestly, it's hard to think of an industry that won't be impacted. Like manufacturing and warehousing, those are already being transformed big time. We've got AI-powered inventory systems using image recognition that's changing how businesses keep track of all their stuff. And then there's these smart factories that are using AI to predict when they need maintenance, cut down on waste, and even make things safer for workers.
That's amazing. But it makes you think about the environmental impact, right? Like all this tech, it's got to be leaving a pretty big footprint.
You're right to bring that up. And that's exactly where all this clean tech comes in. It's not just like a niche thing anymore. The investment is insane.
Ugh.
Last year alone, we saw $200 billion go into clean technologies. That's a 70% jump from the year before.
Wow, that's a huge surge. What's fueling all this investment in clean tech all of a sudden?
Well, there's a growing sense of urgency around climate change, that's for sure. Governments are stepping up with things like the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act. That's incentivizing businesses to get into the clean tech game. And investors, they're seeing green, both literally and figuratively.
Okay, that makes sense. So the articles mention green hydrogen. They say it's like the next big thing. Can you break that down a bit? Like, what is it and why is everyone so excited about it?
So basically, green hydrogen is being talked about as this massive potential green energy source. And for a couple of big reasons. One, hydrogen is the most abundant element on the planet. And two, when you burn it, you're not releasing any CO2.
Okay, so it's like a truly clean fuel. That sounds amazing, but is it really going to be the game changer everyone's saying it is?
Well, the market projections are definitely eye-opening. It's expected to grow by like 61% every year through 2027. They're saying it could hit over $7 billion. And companies like Plug Power here in the US, they're going all in on green hydrogen. They're making partnerships and starting projects all over the world. There are some hurdles for sure, but the potential is definitely there.
So green hydrogen is definitely one to watch. But even with all this money going into clean tech, carbon emissions still hit record highs last year. It makes you wonder if it's all happening fast enough.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Like, we need those clean technologies like green hydrogen for the long haul, but we've also got to deal with the carbon we're pumping out right now. And that's where we get to carbon capture technology.
Oh yeah, carbon capture. I sort of remember how that works. Can you give us a quick refresher?
Sure, so carbon capture is all about trapping carbon dioxide right where it's coming from, like at a power plant or some kind of industrial facility. Once they catch it, they isolate the CO2 and can either store it underground permanently or even reuse it for something else.
So it's like we're literally sucking the carbon pollution out of the air. Are there actually companies using this right now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And more are getting on board all the time. Funding for carbon capture almost doubled in 2022. It's definitely picking up steam. As the tech gets better and cheaper, it could be a really important tool in fighting climate change.
That's encouraging. Okay, so we've talked about tech that's trying to save the planet, but what about tech that's getting up close and personal? Like the articles talk about innovations that could actually get inside our bodies and change our lives.
Absolutely. There's a huge push for early disease detection, especially for things like cancer, where finding it early can make all the difference. And new tech is making early detection a reality.
One of the articles talked about biological dynamics and their lab on a chip test for pancreatic cancer. What makes this test so groundbreaking?
Well, pancreatic cancer, it's one of the deadliest cancers out there because it's so hard to catch early. What's amazing about biological dynamics test is that it uses these biomarkers to find pancreatic cancer super early, maybe even giving patients a chance to fight it. And they're already working on similar tests for lung and ovarian cancer.
Wow, that's huge. And it seems like AI is making a big impact in healthcare too. What other AI-driven advancements are we going to see?
Get this, researchers at MIT, they're using AI to figure out someone's lung cancer risk up to 6 years in advance, just by looking at a lung scan. Think about that. Knowing your risk so far ahead of time, you can actually take steps to prevent it.
That would be incredible. So all this personalized healthcare, it's not just happening in labs and hospitals, right? Some of the articles mentioned that smartphones might soon be able to diagnose diseases right at home.
I know it sounds like sci-fi, but the tech is here. There's this company, Healthy.io. They've developed a smartphone test for chronic kidney disease. You just take a picture of a test strip with your phone, and their app uses AI to analyze it.
Wow, mind blown. So we've gone from AI writing code to AI maybe diagnosing diseases all in just a few years. What's next?
How about a technology that's been sci-fi for decades, but is finally coming true? Quantum computing.
Okay, quantum computing. I've heard the term, but I'm not sure I really get it. Can you explain it in a way that, like, anyone could understand?
Sure. So regular computers, they use bits, which can be a 0 or 1, right?
Yeah.
But quantum computers, they use qubits, which are kind of like superbits. They can be both a 0 and a 1 at the same time. It's this mind-bending thing called superposition, and it lets quantum computers do calculations way faster than any regular computer ever could.
Okay, so they're like super powered computers. What kind of impact are they going to have?
The possibilities are pretty wild. Like in life sciences, they could simulate super complicated chemical processes, which would make drug discovery way faster and could even lead to personalized medicine. And in finance, they could change how we deal with risk and catch fraud.
And what about for regular people like me? How is quantum computing going to affect our lives?
Okay, picture this. You pull up to charge your electric car, and boom, it's fully charged in just seconds thanks to quantum tech. That's just one example of how this could change things.
Okay, now that's a future I can get behind. But with all this amazing tech, aren't there going to be new risks too? Like, what about cyber attacks?
That's a good point. Every new technology has its downsides. Cybercrime, it's a moving target, and as we use more and more tech, we're more vulnerable.
Yeah, the articles said that almost half of all companies were hit with cyber attacks last year. That's scary.
It is, and the costs can be devastating. We're talking millions of dollars per attack. Some companies even said those cyber attacks almost put them out of business completely.
Yikes. So, what are these cyber criminals using these days? What should we be worried about?
Well, one really worrying trend is the rise of deepfake attacks. They're these fake videos or images made by AI, and they can be super convincing.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some of those deep fakes. They're getting crazy realistic. How are they being used in attacks?
So imagine you get an email that looks like it's from your CEO asking for an urgent money transfer, right? But it's not actually your CEO. It's a deep fake video made by hackers. These scams are getting more common, and as AI gets better, they're harder and harder to spot.
That's terrifying. Makes you wonder if you can trust anything you see online anymore. So how are we supposed to fight back against these cyber attacks?
Well, the good news is that cybersecurity folks are also using AI to fight back. There are companies like Deep Instinct that are using deep learning to stop threats before they can even do any damage.
So it's like an AI arms race with good AI battling bad AI.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a constant battle to stay one step ahead.
Yeah.
As AI keeps advancing, both the attackers and the defenders are going to keep finding new ways to use it.
From deep fakes to deep learning, it's clear that AI is going to be a huge part of shaping the future. But there's another trend I'm curious about, the Internet of Things. It seems like everything is getting connected these days.
You're not wrong. The IoT is exploding. We're talking billions of devices. Everything from your smart fridge to massive industrial equipment, all becoming part of this giant connected web.
So it's not just our phones and computers that are online 24/7 anymore.
Nope, not even close. Like in factories, they're using IoT sensors to gather data and optimize things on the fly. We're talking smart factories where machines are talking to each other and making adjustments without any human input.
I can see how that would be super useful in a factory. But what about in our everyday lives? Are there any cool examples of IoT making a difference?
I came across this partnership between the University of Idaho and a company called NordSense. I thought it was pretty neat. They're using IoT sensors in trash cans to keep track of how full they are.
Wait, smart trash cans? Okay, that's pretty creative. But what's the point of having a trash can that's connected to the internet?
Well, by knowing exactly when a can is full, the waste management team can plan their routes better and cut down on wasted time and fuel. It's a simple idea, but it can have a big impact.
Wow, that's a great example of how even simple IoT applications can make things better. So, is the main idea with IoT just about making our lives easier and more convenient?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it.
Mhm.
But we're heading towards a future where pretty much everything is connected. So we have to think about the downsides too, things like privacy and security.
Hmm.
The more data we create, the more vulnerable we are to attacks.
That's true. But okay, on a more optimistic note, imagine a world where tech just blends into our lives, like it anticipates our needs and makes everything super smooth. That's the whole idea behind ambient computing, right?
Exactly. Ambient computing is like this network of devices and software, all powered by AI, working together behind the scenes. The goal is to create personalized experiences that just make life easier.
Can you give me some examples? I'm having a hard time picturing how that would actually work.
Well, we already have things like smart thermostats, like the Ecobee. They learn your schedule and adjust the temperature for you. But imagine you get off a plane and your phone automatically directs you to baggage claim, hails you a ride, orders your usual coffee, and even checks you into your hotel, all without you having to do anything.
Wow, that would be amazing. No more stressing over apps and confirmation numbers.
Exactly. And think about what it could do in factories or retail. Ambient computing could automate tasks, keep people safer, and even create personalized shopping experiences.
Sounds like the future of tech is all about making our lives easier, more efficient, and way more connected. But what about all that boring stuff we still got to do at work? Is there any hope for us there?
There is. Robotic process automation, or RPA, is becoming super popular because it can take care of those repetitive, time-consuming tasks that we all hate.
So robots are going to take over our jobs. Should I be worried?
Not really.
Yeah.
RPA is more about freeing us up from the boring stuff so we can focus on more interesting and creative work. Think of it like having a digital assistant that handles all the data entry, the forms, the scheduling, all that stuff, so you can do more meaningful work.
I could definitely use one of those. But seriously, how much time and money are we actually talking about saving here?
Well, get this. The average company with 500 employees loses over $1.4 million every year because of time wasted on those repetitive tasks. That's a lot of potential productivity just sitting there.
Okay, I'm sold on RPA. Are there any companies leading the charge in this area?
UiPath is the big one. They've got tons of customers and a really good track record. They're helping businesses of all sizes automate their processes and make things way more efficient.
So we've covered AI, clean tech, quantum computing, cybersecurity, the IoT, ambient computing, RPA. Whew, that's a lot. But there's one more area I'm really interested in, femtech.
Ah, yes, femtech, tech that's focused on women's health issues. It's been growing like crazy lately.
And the articles say it's only going to get bigger, right?
The projections are pretty mind-blowing.
Mm.
The market's expected to hit $103 billion by 2030. That's more than double what it was in 2021.
Wow, that's huge. Why is femtech seeing this kind of explosive growth? What's driving it?
It's a few things, I think. There's a growing awareness that women's health hasn't always gotten the attention it deserves. Plus, there's a new generation of female entrepreneurs and investors who are really passionate about creating solutions.
One article talked about Maven Clinic as the first femtech unicorn. What makes them stand out?
Maven Clinic has built this digital platform that provides healthcare for women and families. Everything from telehealth appointments and support groups to educational resources. They've already helped millions of patients and gotten tons of funding.
Sounds like they're really shaking things up in the healthcare world.
They definitely are. And there are lots of other innovative femtech products coming out too. There are ovulation trackers that analyze your breath, smart watches that predict your fertile window, all kinds of things.
Speaking of wearables, it seems like they're getting way more advanced than just tracking steps and sleep. What else is going on in wearables?
We're seeing all these new wearable devices that are more sophisticated and specific than ever before.
Yeah, the articles even mention smart rings that can do everything from contactless payments to unlocking your Tesla.
Mm,
Pretty wild.
it's true. SNCC made this Tesla key ring. You just tap your knuckle to lock, unlock, and even start your car. No more digging around for your keys.
That's slick. And what about those e-textiles I keep hearing about? Clothes that are also gadgets.
Yeah, that's e-textiles, electronic textiles built right into your clothing.
Yeah.
There are yoga pants that can analyze your posture and give you feedback, smart socks that can help runners avoid injuries, even baby socks that track their vital signs.
Wow, wearable tech has come a long way. It seems like the lines between technology and clothing are getting blurrier all the time.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And it's only going to get more integrated into our lives as we go forward.
Okay, so we've gone from AI therapist to smart trash cans to Tesla key rings. It's clear the future of tech is going to be exciting, innovative, and maybe even a little bit weird.
It definitely will be. And as we head into 2025 and beyond, it's important to remember that tech is a tool. We get to decide how to use it to make things better for everyone.
That's a great point. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's one more trend I want to talk about: extended reality.
Ah, yes, extended reality, or XR. That's the umbrella term for augmented reality, AR, virtual reality, VR, and mixed reality. It's all about bringing the real and virtual worlds together, creating these immersive experiences where you can't tell what's real and what's not.
It sounds pretty futuristic. Are there any real-world uses for XR right now?
Oh, absolutely. XR is already making a difference in tons of industries, like healthcare, manufacturing, even education.
Can you give me a specific example? How is XR being used in healthcare?
Well, one really cool use is in surgical training. They're using VR simulations to let surgeons practice complex procedures in a safe, virtual environment. It lets them improve their skills and get more confident before they ever operate on a real patient.
That makes a lot of sense. What about in other fields?
In manufacturing, XR is being used to train technicians on how to assemble and repair complicated machinery. And in education, XR could create super immersive learning experiences that bring history and science to life.
One of the articles mentioned a program in Maryland, Vehicles for Change, that's using VR to train automotive students, including people who were formerly incarcerated, giving them valuable job skills.
That's a fantastic example of how XR can help close the skills gap and give people opportunities they might not have had otherwise.
And XR isn't just for training, right? The U.S. Army invested a ton of money in XR headsets for combat simulations.
Yeah, that $21.88 billion contract they signed with Microsoft for those HoloLens headsets, that was a big deal. Shows how seriously the military is taking XR tech.
Wow. Okay, so XR is clearly a powerful tool with a lot of uses. But what are the challenges? What are some of the things holding it back?
Well, one of the big ones is the cost and complexity of the hardware. XR headsets can be pricey and bulky, and they often need powerful computers to work. And then there's the challenge of designing interfaces that are easy and intuitive to use, so anyone can use XR, not just tech experts.
Those are good points. But it seems like XR has the potential to completely change how we learn, work, and even play.
It definitely does. As the hardware gets better and cheaper, I think we're going to see a huge boom in XR applications in the next few years.
From training surgeons and simulating combat to creating immersive learning experiences, XR is a game changer.
Totally. And as with any powerful tech, it's crucial that we use it responsibly and ethically.
Well said. Okay, one last trend before we can say we've truly looked into the future of tech: edge computing. What's that all about?
So edge computing is all about processing data closer to where it's created, instead of relying on big central cloud servers. It's a whole new way of thinking about data.
Okay, why is that shift so important? What are the benefits of edge computing?
Well, one of the biggest advantages is speed. Processing data at the edge means faster analysis and decision-making, which is super important for time-sensitive stuff like self-driving cars or real-time stock trading.
So it's all about speed and responsiveness?
That's a big part of it. But it also has advantages in terms of security and cost. By keeping data local, you reduce the risk of it being intercepted or compromised. Plus, it can be a lot cheaper than using expensive cloud services.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal. How does this connect to the other trends we've talked about, especially AI?
That's a great question. Edge computing is particularly important for AI because AI applications are getting more and more complex and data heavy. So we need more efficient ways to process all that data, and that's where Edge AI comes in. It lets AI algorithms run right on the devices themselves so you don't have to send data back and forth to the cloud.
So it's like having a tiny AI brain in every device.
You can think of it that way. It's all about distributing intelligence across the network. instead of keeping it all in one place.
That makes sense. It sounds like edge computing is going to be crucial as we move toward a future where AI is everywhere.
I think so. It's a key enabler for the next generation of AI applications.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from AI and clean tech to XR and edge computing. It's clear that the future of technology is just overflowing with possibilities.
Absolutely. And as we navigate this rapidly evolving landscape, the most important thing is to stay informed, be adaptable, and always keep learning.
That's great advice. But before we finish up this part of our deep dive, there's one more trend we need to talk about: the rise of citizen developers.
Right. We can't talk about the future of tech without addressing the huge shortage of software developers out there.
Yeah, it's a big problem. The tech industry needs more talent, and the gap's only getting wider.
Exactly. That's where low-code, no-code platforms come in. They let people with little to no coding experience build software applications.
Low code and no code. Can you remind me how those work?
They use visual interfaces and pre-built components, so instead of writing lines of code, you can create applications by dragging and dropping elements.
So, like drag and drop programming.
Similar idea, yeah.
Yeah.
The goal is to make software development accessible to everyone, regardless of their technical background.
Are businesses actually using these platforms?
More than you'd think. Over 76% of organizations have already implemented low-code and no-code platforms, and the market is going to be worth tens of billions of dollars very soon.
That's incredible. So, is it safe to say that anyone can be a software developer now?
Well, it's not quite that easy. You still need to understand basic logic and problem solving. But these platforms definitely make it easier for people to get started and empower these citizen developers to create things.
Are there any companies that are really leading the way in low code, no code?
Mendix is a big one. They've got a really solid platform that thousands of companies use worldwide. It lets them build custom applications without having to hire expensive developers.
That's amazing. It seems like the future of technology is going to be more democratic and accessible than ever before.
I agree. As technology becomes more and more a part of our lives, it's important that everyone has a chance to be a part of creating and developing it.
Okay, so we've covered an incredible amount of ground in this part of our deep dive into the future of tech.
From AI and robotics to clean tech and femtech, from the expanding world of the IoT to the potential of quantum computing, we've just scratched the surface.
We've talked about how important it is to never stop learning, the need to develop skills that make us uniquely human, and the responsibility we all have to make sure tech is used for good.
And we've only just started to touch on some of the big questions we need to face, like the future of work, ethical AI, finding a balance between innovation and privacy, and what it means to be human in a world that's so deeply shaped by tech.
It's a lot to think about. But that's what the deep dive is all about, helping you navigate the complex and ever-changing world of tech.
We hope this first part of our deep dive has been informative and engaging, but even more importantly, we hope it sparked your curiosity.
Because the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create.
And that's what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive.
We'll go deeper into how all these trends are connected and how we can prepare ourselves for the opportunities and challenges that are coming our way.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we continue our journey into the fascinating world of technology and its impact on our future.
Welcome back to the deep dive. In part 1, we went through a ton: the rise of AI, the clean tech boom, even dipped our toes into quantum computing and all that crazy IoT stuff.
Yeah, we really covered some fascinating tech, and each one has its own upsides and challenges.
Yeah.
But one thing that really struck me is how connected all these trends are. It's not just like a bunch of separate advancements. It's like they're all feeding off each other, speeding up the rate of change like we've never seen.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's like one breakthrough leads to another and then another, kind of like a chain reaction that's changing every part of our lives.
Exactly. Think about AI and edge computing, for instance. All the progress in AI, it's pushing the need for more powerful and distributed computing, which is driving the growth of edge computing. And then edge computing makes it possible to use even more sophisticated AI. It's like this awesome feedback loop.
It's almost like we're witnessing the birth of this global brain, with billions of devices acting like neurons, all talking to each other.
That's a cool way to think about it.
Hmm.
As we move towards a future where we have billions of devices generating tons of data, being able to process that data at the edge, right where it's created, that's going to be super important.
Makes you wonder what happens when this global brain wakes up.
Now you're getting into sci-fi territory. But it's definitely a thought-provoking question. Look, we can't predict the future for sure, but one thing's clear. The pace of change is only going to get faster, and we got to be ready to adapt. What you know today might be outdated tomorrow. Learning new stuff isn't a choice anymore, it's essential.
You've said that before, and I think it's worth repeating. Lifelong learning is key. But it's not just about learning new tech skills, right?
Nope, not at all.
Yeah.
It's also about honing those critical thinking skills, getting better at solving tough problems, and really nurturing our creativity so we can come up with new ideas. These are the things that make us human, the things machines can't do, at least not yet.
So we need to focus on what sets us apart from machines.
Exactly. Things like empathy, compassion, curiosity, those are the qualities that'll help us thrive in a future where tech is everywhere.
It's a good reminder that at the end of the day, technology is a tool. We get to decide how we use it, how we shape it to benefit humanity and match our values.
Couldn't agree more. We have a duty to make sure technology is used for good, to tackle big problems like climate change and create a more just and sustainable future for everyone.
That reminds me of the citizen developers we talked about in the first part. By making tech more accessible and giving people the power to create their own solutions, we're bringing more people into the fold, more people who can help build a better future.
That's a really powerful idea. It shows that we all have a role to play in shaping the future no matter what our technical skills are.
That's inspiring. But it's important to acknowledge that not everyone's so optimistic about tech's impact. There are some genuine concerns about the downsides.
You're absolutely right. We can't ignore the potential negative consequences of AI, automation, and all this tech that's becoming more and more pervasive. We have to talk openly and honestly about the challenges.
Job displacement is a big one. As machines get smarter, what's going to happen to all the people whose jobs get automated? It's a question that worries a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a tough issue. No easy answers. Some experts say new jobs will pop up to replace the old ones, while others think we need to completely rethink our economic systems.
And what about the ethics of AI? As AI systems get more powerful, how do we make sure they're used fairly and responsibly? Things like bias, discrimination, the potential for misuse, those are all serious concerns.
Those are questions that are keeping ethicists, policymakers, and tech leaders up at night. We need to set clear guidelines and regulations for AI, making sure it serves humanity and doesn't make existing inequalities worse.
The impact of tech on privacy is another big worry. With all the data we're creating, how do we protect ourselves from surveillance and data breaches? It feels like our digital footprints are growing every day.
Privacy is a fundamental human right, and we have to find ways to protect it in a world that runs on data. That means pushing for strong data protection laws, being careful about what we share online, and supporting groups that are fighting for our digital rights.
It's clear that technology is a double-edged sword. It can be used for amazing things, but there are real risks too. We have to be critical, looking at both the good and the bad.
I completely agree. We need to have these open and honest conversations about the future we want and work together to make sure technology is working for us, not the other way around.
And those conversations need to include everyone, making sure the future of tech is shaped by everyone's needs and hopes, not just a few.
I think that's key. The more inclusive and equitable we are with technology, the better we'll be able to handle the challenges that are coming.
So as we keep exploring the future of technology, let's remember that it's not set in stone. It's a journey we're all taking together, and we can choose where it goes.
Absolutely. By having these conversations, by always learning, and by pushing for responsible and ethical uses of tech, we can create a future that benefits everyone.
That's a future worth fighting for. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about one trend that could completely change what it means to be human: neurological enhancement.
Ah, yeah, using tech to enhance our brains, boosting our intelligence, memory, focus, maybe even our creativity. It's a fascinating idea, but a little freaky too, right?
It definitely raises some big questions, like where's the line? Is it ethical to mess with our brains? Feels like we're entering uncharted territory.
We are. And like with any powerful tech, it could be used for good or bad. Imagine using neurological enhancement to treat brain injuries, help people with cognitive disabilities, or even unlock new levels of human potential.
Wow, those are some amazing possibilities.
But there's a flip side too. What if these technologies are used to manipulate us, control our behavior, or create a society where only the enhanced people have power? We can't ignore those possibilities.
It sounds like something straight out of a movie.
It does, right? But the thing is, these technologies are being developed right now. Companies like Neuralink, they're working on brain-computer interfaces that could let us control devices with our thoughts and even boost our brain power.
So this isn't just a theory, it could actually happen while we're alive.
Definitely possible. And that's why it's so important to be talking about this stuff now before it's too late. We need to think hard about the ethical issues, the risks, and the safeguards we need to put in place.
It feels like we're standing at the beginning of a whole new era, where the very definition of what it means to be human is changing.
Absolutely. It's a time of incredible potential, but also a lot of uncertainty. As we move forward, we need to be wise, compassionate, and remember that we're responsible for the future.
That's a lot to take in. We've covered a lot in this part of our deep dive, looking at how all these tech trends are connected, the good and bad that could come from them, and the big ethical and societal questions they raise.
And we're just scratching the surface. There's so much more to explore, like the power of biotechnology, the rise of the metaverse, and what it all means for space exploration.
It's an exciting, challenging time to be alive. As we look ahead to 2025 and beyond, we have to remember that the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we build.
Totally. Let's use our intelligence, our creativity, and our compassion to make a future that's fair, equitable, and sustainable for everyone.
Now, in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore what we can actually do to prepare for the future of tech. We'll talk about how to embrace lifelong learning, develop the skills that'll be most valuable, and navigate the ethical and societal challenges that are coming our way.
We'll look at how to use technology's power for good while avoiding the downsides, and how to create a future we can all be proud of.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the future of tech. We've covered a lot of ground in the first two parts, everything from AI and clean tech to quantum computing, and even that wild concept of neurological enhancement.
We've explored some amazing innovations, and one thing's for sure, the future can be a whole different ballgame. The pace of change is unlike anything we've ever seen.
It's exciting, but also a bit overwhelming, right? Like, on one hand, we've got all these incredible possibilities, new ways to cure diseases, solutions for climate change, and ways to connect with each other that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, but it can be daunting too. It's tough to predict how all these trends will actually play out, what kind of surprises we might run into, and how we'll adapt as individuals and as a society.
It's like we're explorers landing on a brand new continent. We can see the basic landscape, but there's still so much that's unknown. It's going to be an adventure, but who knows what we'll find?
And just like with any adventure, there are risks. But there's also the potential for some truly groundbreaking discoveries and advancements that could change everything.
So how do we navigate this uncharted territory? What steps can we take to get ready for a world that's changing so fast?
I think it starts with a shift in our mindset. We got to accept that change is the new normal. The things we learn today might be outdated tomorrow, so we need to become lifelong learners, constantly adapting and evolving to keep up.
We've talked a lot about continuous learning, but it's not just about picking up new tech skills, is it?
You got it. It's also about developing those soft skills that will be crucial as machines start taking on more of the routine work. We're talking creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, communication, collaboration, empathy. These are the human skills that will really matter as we move forward.
Those are the skills machines can't replicate, at least not yet. It seems like the more reliant we become on technology, the more important it is to nurture our human side.
Absolutely. We need to be aware of how technology affects our lives, our relationships, and society as a whole. It's about making sure tech serves us, not the other way around.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about how we use it, how we integrate it into our lives in a way that's beneficial and aligns with our values.
Exactly. Technology is a tool, just like a hammer or a screwdriver. It can be used to build things up or tear things down. We have a responsibility to make sure we're using it to build a better, more just, and sustainable future for everyone.
And that brings us back to those citizen developers we discussed earlier. By giving more people the power to create and use technology, we're increasing the chances that it'll be used for good, to solve problems, and to make the world a better place.
I couldn't agree more. The more diverse perspectives we have involved in shaping the future of tech, the better the outcome for all of humanity.
Well said. So before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to circle back to one of the trends that really got me thinking, neurological enhancement. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's a conversation we might need to have sooner than we think.
It definitely captures the imagination, and it brings up some big ethical questions. Using technology to enhance our brains, our intelligence, memory, focus, maybe even creativity, it's a fascinating and slightly scary concept.
It makes you wonder, where do we draw the line? Is it ethical to start messing with our own brains? It feels like we're going into uncharted territory with no map to guide us.
You're right, it's a complicated issue with no easy answers. Like any powerful tech, it has the potential for great good and potential harm. We could use neurological enhancement to treat severe brain injuries, help people with cognitive disabilities lead more fulfilling lives, or even unlock new levels of human potential.
Wow, think of the possibilities. What if we could overcome the limits of our biology and tap into abilities we never thought possible?
The potential is mind-blowing, but there's a dark side too. Imagine a world where this tech is used to manipulate people, control their actions, or create a society where only those who are enhanced have power. We need to be aware of these possibilities and think critically about them.
It's exciting and terrifying at the same time. Makes you question what it even means to be human.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to start these conversations now, before this tech is everywhere. We need to wrestle with the ethical implications, weigh the risks and benefits, and put safeguards in place to make sure it's used responsibly and ethically.
It feels like we're on the verge of a new era, one where what it means to be human is being redefined.
And as we enter this new era, we have to move forward thoughtfully, knowing that we're shaping the future with every decision we make.
Well, we've covered an incredible amount of ground in our deep dive into the future of tech. We explored the major trends that are reshaping our world, the amazing opportunities they offer, and the difficult challenges we need to face.
We talked about how crucial it is to never stop learning, the need to develop those uniquely human skills, and the responsibility we all share to ensure technology is used for the greater good.
We even dove into some pretty heavy topics like what work will look like in the future, the ethics of AI, how to balance innovation with privacy, and what it means to be human in a world that's more and more intertwined with technology.
It's a lot to digest, but hopefully this deep dive has given you some new insights and maybe sparked your interest to learn more.
Remember, the future isn't something that just happens. It's something we create through our choices, our actions, and our vision for the world.
So let's use our intelligence, creativity, and compassion to build a future that's just, equitable, sustainable, and full of opportunities for everyone.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of tech.
We hope you found it informative and interesting, and that it's given you some things to think about as we navigate this incredible time of change.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.